The Era of Polycrisis. Satan worship live on TV, once-in-a-century earthquakes, new pandemics, and the collapse of civilization happening right before our eyes. Another day, another step closer to the apocalypse, peeps. My name is Steve Eyes. You are on the EyesIsWatchin channel. Now, I apologize for the hiatus. If you follow me on Patreon or Subscribestar or even my Telegram, you'd know on my way back from Colombia, I was stranded in Dallas, Texas for 3 days because of an icy storm there. You know, it was big and they had to cancel all flights, so I was stuck. Luckily, I had a hotel to stay in, so I am incredibly grateful for that. But because of all the chaos last week, I had no choice but to skip last weekend's podcast. It was a hectic week and I had no time to keep up to date with what was going on around the world. And I do apologize. But that being said, I had an incredible time in Colombia, enjoyed the sun. It was nice being away from the dark, gloomy winter weather here in Vancouver. But I'm also glad I'm back at the same time, okay? There's no place like home, I must say. But stay tuned for a vid I might release on my YouTube channel documenting my trip in Medellin, Colombia. EyesIsWatchin on YouTube, one word, no G at the end. Make sure you subscribe on my YouTube channel if you haven't already. But that being said, let's get into this clown world insanity, people. The devil ain't even hiding no more. Transsexuals dressed in red worshiping Satan on the Grammys. Now, it was funny how I ended up seeing this because I never watched TV, just like a lot of you, I'm sure, and was visiting my parents and they had the TV on. Like many older people, you know, they sit around watching TV all day. Wheel of Fortune, Family Feud, you know, all the boring stuff. They watch it. So I was sitting at my parents' house and the Grammys comes on. Now, I was absolutely blown away by the amount of woke LGBTQ leftist garbage that was on there. I mean, one thing after the other. It was like a New World Order brainwashing frenzy of trannies and Luciferians pledging allegiance to Satan. Seriously, barely any music was played, just satanic rituals right there on TV. Hey, can we just have a non-woke Grammys with some good music? They're like, nah, the best we can do is some fat guy dressed as Satan and have it sponsored by Pfizer. This is basically where we're at, people. But Sam Smith pulled up to the Grammys dressed in all red. Him and his gang of Baphomets looking like they just did laps in lakes of hellfire. He went on stage accepting his award with some person that looked somewhat decent compared to the other freaks in his crew. But then that person announced they were transgendered too on stage. It was like, I was just sitting there baffled at how blatant things have gotten now. I'm sure everybody there is a tranny. I'm convinced now. Right when he left the stage, an obese transsexual took over as the host, talking about people of color, disenfranchised folks in the LGBTQ community and their rights. And then some other singer comes on to talk about climate change. I mean, good God, what has the world come to? Sam Smith before the performance tweeted, "This is going to be special," with the tongue emoji, only for CBS to reply with, "You can say that again. We are ready to worship." What on earth is going on here? The Luciferians ain't hiding no more, I'm telling you right now. Someone on TikTok was saying CBS must stand for controlled by Satan. Now, how many artists in Hollywood have a similar story to this, where they seem to come in innocent and over time change into something demonic, doing 180s at times and becoming transgendered and promoting all the New World satanic propaganda, almost like they were blackmailed or sold their soul, and then they participate in satanic rituals out in the open. Some say it's actually a humiliation ritual for the Satanists. This is what they do. First, they get you on their side. The first thing you have to do is dress like a transsexual or do homosexual indecent acts out there in public, promoting this Luciferian ideology to brainwash the masses. Like Sam Smith, years back seemed to be in good shape, dressed in suits, singing love songs clearly about a woman. And then the pictures started coming out, folks. The standard covering of one eye, pledging allegiance to the dark forces of evil before finally performing satanic rituals for the world to see. Going from a well-dressed gentleman to a Baphomet tranny overnight. Satanism. Never once. Putting out music videos that would make Satan himself cringe. That's right, people. The Grammys was so disgusting, Satan distances himself from the Grammys, calling it appalling and too cringy. Babylon Bee for the win again. The same story every time, people. Like with Lil Nas X coming out with the harmless, catchy tune, Old Town Road. He took his first step into Hollywood and voila, he's suddenly making videos of him twerking on Satan in hell. I think we all know who Hollywood is controlled by now. Now, this isn't the first time we've seen celebrities worship Lucifer and perform satanic rituals on TV. I'm sure many of you have seen Madonna mocking Jesus during a Last Supper photo shoot a few weeks back. Now, as despicable as this is, I'm not going to flat out say she's doing this because she worships Satan, which very well might be true. There could be a chance she's just a serious narcissist that craves attention. After all, why would she be on video licking a dog bowl and squatting over a sriracha sauce bottle? Absolutely disgusting. But this could very well be the humiliation rituals the Satanists make you go through in order to keep your position in Hollywood. You know, people, at the end of every civilization, degeneracy runs rampant and the moral degradation of society accelerates. Like at the end of the Roman Empire, women wanted to be men, men started dressing like women, Satan worship was done out there in the open as the fabric that held society together started to deteriorate. Rome eventually collapsed within. Watching any movie, TV shows, or even award shows now lets us know where we are as a current state of society. But I'm not going to keep harping on the Grammys. There's more things to harp about here. Ooh, that was a great segue. Now, like the cataclysmic earthquake that rocked Turkey and Syria a week ago, and I believe the death toll is over 13,000 at the moment. Beyond devastating watching some of this footage come out with babies being pulled from the rubble. A story of a newborn saved after the mother gave birth and then died trapped under earthquake rubble in Syria. Footage of the newborn being pulled out of the collapsed building. I mean, heartbreaking footage here. They're saying it was one of the most powerful earthquakes in that region in a century. So after the initial 7.8 scale earthquake took place, there were some aftershocks that were almost as powerful as the initial quake. Says here a series of aftershocks reverberated through the region in the immediate hours after the initial incident. A magnitude 6.7 aftershock followed 11 minutes after the first quake hit, but the largest trembler, which measured 7.5 in magnitude, struck about 9 hours later. So one after the other, and some just as strong as the initial quake, which caused the already severely damaged buildings to cave in and come down. Watching some of these buildings collapse knowing people were in them is beyond tragic. Now, I know there's many theories as to what this could be. We know earthquakes have hit that region before, but this time it was under President Erdogan's watch, so people are already accusing him of a dull response, blaming him for the high death toll. It says here as many as 23 million people could be affected in the quake-hit region, according to Alhid Marchang, a senior emergencies officer with the World Health Organization, who called it a crisis on top of multiple crises. Erdogan, on his tour of quake-hit areas, acknowledged that there were problems early on in this response, but said it had improved. He said his government would distribute the equivalent of $532 to affected families. The disaster comes at a sensitive time for Erdogan, who faces presidential and parliamentary elections in May amid an economic downturn and high inflation. Perceptions that his government mismanaged the crisis could severely hurt his standings. The region sits on top of major fault lines and is frequently shaken by earthquakes. Some 18,000 were killed in similarly powerful earthquakes that hit northwest Turkey in 1999. So keep in mind here, Turkey just came out refusing a NATO expansion and calling out the demons in the United States as seen in this video right here. He said, I say to the American ambassador from here, I know which journalist you wrote to get your dirty hands off of Turkey. I'm telling you very clearly, get your dirty hands off Turkey. I know clearly what you have done, what steps you have taken, and how you want to confuse Turkey. Get your dirty hands, those grinning masked faces, away from Turkey. This is clear here. Very interesting, he said masked faces. What does he mean by that? Because it does look like Biden and Kamala Harris are really wearing masks out here. They're really those lizards from The Simpsons that have taken over Earth, and they're wearing human flesh now, just pretending like they're our leaders. But that's very interesting. This man has called out the states 1 week before, and also Turkey denied a NATO expansion, not allowing Sweden and Finland into NATO, I believe. Then a week later, a once-in-a-century earthquake takes place in Turkey that could permanently damage Erdogan's reputation. Some are saying it's Harp, being used to terrorize Turkey because they're not following globalist orders. Interesting videos of weird cloud formations over Turkey a week before this earthquake happened, and strange lightning happening on the day of. Like in this video, a man recorded during the earthquake on a rooftop. Not sure what this could have been, but these same lights in the sky have been seen during many earthquakes recently, like the one a few years ago in Mexico. Scientists saying they don't understand fully what these lights could be, as seen here, people.
But there are other kinds of earthquake lights, not caused by lightning or transformers. They're white flashes that accompany or precede large tremors, especially in certain places, like this one in Japan. And scientists say they're real.
But they're not understood.
They're not understood. Direct energy weapons, Harp, or blown transformers, but need to consider all possibilities at this point because the same demons in charge have said this decade will be the era of polycrisis, which includes non-stop disasters from financial to ecological disasters and endless diseases that could collapse civilization. Funny how the WEF could predict something like that, and now we're seeing it play out. One thing for sure, people, if they start building smart cities over the earthquake ruins of Turkey, I think we will all be saying, well, ain't that some shit at that point. But how does this earthquake rank with other earthquakes? I got some info here for you. How does this quake compare globally? In comparison with other large earthquakes around the world, the 2011 Japan quake and tsunami, in which more than 22,000 people were killed or went missing, registered a magnitude of 9.1. That incident left widespread destruction in its wake after walls of water engulfed entire towns, dragged houses onto highways, and caused the country's worst nuclear disaster on record. I'll go over that a little later. A year before, in 2010, a magnitude 7.0 earthquake in Haiti is estimated to have killed between 220,000 to 300,000 people. A further 300,000 people were injured and millions were displaced. In 2004, an earthquake with an estimated magnitude of 9.1 struck the coast of Sumatra, Indonesia, causing a tsunami that left 227,898 people dead or listed as missing and presumed dead. The strongest earthquake on record was a magnitude 9.5 in Chile in 1960. Now, in this video from National Geographic, they even admit many big earthquakes can be man-made. But in this video, they're saying it could be by accident or from things like fracking. Okay, fracking can cause 8.0 scale earthquakes, people. Check this out. Not all earthquakes occur naturally. Some are man-made. Tell me about it. They keep harping on it. These are some of the biggest earthquakes that are thought to have been caused by human activity. China, 2008 magnitude 7.9 Wenchuan earthquake likely caused by construction and filling of a nearby dam. Nepal, 2015 magnitude 7.8 earthquake likely caused by groundwater extraction. A new study and database aims to track earthquakes proposed to have been triggered by human activity. They won't be tracking Harp though. They won't be talking about that. Technology we know they have too. Oklahoma, 2016 magnitude 5.8 earthquake likely caused by fracking wastewater injection. Mining projects and water and dams are the two most commonly reported causes. Interesting, right? Now, if earthquakes can be inadvertently possible by many of the things stated in that video, imagine what can be done on purpose if they use advanced tech that's specifically designed to shake the ground. Do you really think they don't have weapons that can cause massive catastrophes like the one in Turkey? This comes after the US warned travelers of traveling to Turkey because of imminent terror attacks, which Turkey didn't like, so Turkey issued a warning to their residents for traveling to Europe and the US because of racism and xenophobia. So there's been a back and forth here before these earthquakes happen. Interesting side note, woke pandemic on Twitter. Bad news for Pakistan and Afghanistan. Dutch researcher Frank Hugerbeets, who accurately predicted the recent earthquake in Turkey and Syria, has now anticipated seismic activity leading to a large earthquake originating in Afghanistan, passing through Pakistan. You can predict earthquakes now? Can people predict earthquakes? Well, on the official American Government Geological Survey website, it says right here, can you predict earthquakes? No. Neither the USGS nor any other scientists have ever predicted a major earthquake. We do not know how, and we do not expect to know how anytime in the foreseeable future. So how the hell did this Dutch dude predict this one with such accuracy in Turkey? Frank said on February 3rd, sooner or later there will be a 7.5 earthquake in this region, South Central Turkey, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon. Isn't that interesting? And why does he look like one of those mad scientists in the beginning of an apocalypse movie that everyone refuses to listen to? Like, he looks like he would predict an earthquake. What is up with that? He probably got the leaked Harp documents right there showing where the next seismic terror attack would be. Let me play some of this video I found on YouTube of a man investigating earthquake weapons and if they're real or not. I found this video to be quite informative. It's entitled Fulford vs. Harp, and it came out 14 years ago. And he's captured things on footage like planes going over cities right before major earthquakes happen, and they drop something that seems like light or plasma from the plane. And he has it on footage, and he has studied it thoroughly. And this is one of those hidden videos on YouTube. I doubt you can find it by just putting it in the search engine. YouTube used to be cool around 2008, 2009. You could look up anything you wanted. Now, globalist controlled 100%. But let me play some of this video for you guys right here.
Last year, I confronted Heizo Takenaka, the former Japanese finance minister, over why he handed over control of the Japanese financial system to a group of American and European oligarchs. He and his envoy told me that it was because Japan had been threatened by an earthquake machine.
Wow.
I did not believe it at the time. However, when I started exposing some of their doings, I was told by the Japanese security police that because of what I had said on places like Rents.com, that Niigata City was going to be hit by an earthquake. 2 days later, Japan's largest nuclear reactor was the exact epicenter of 2 earthquakes, both 6.8 in magnitude. That was too much of a coincidence for me. So I started doing research and found out about HARP, H-A-A-R-P. And I realized that they really did know how to make earthquakes. And they do it by shooting a 1 billion watt microwave into the ionosphere, which is the part of the atmosphere that has a lot of energy in it. That pushes the ionosphere up into outer space, and then it rebounds. And the way it rebounds can cause earthquakes. Just like an opera singer can break a glass by singing at a certain level, or by dragging your fingernails on a blackboard, you feel a weird sensation. If they adjust the vibration for the rock underneath their target site, they can do that. The same machine can also heat up subterranean water to cause earthquakes. And remember, a 1 billion watt microwave. What does microwave do to water? It heats it up. Now imagine if you put 1 billion watts into a tropical storm. You could make it much bigger, and you could change the direction it flows in. You know how there's high pressure zones and low pressure zones. Well, high is hot and low is cold. And the hot flows into the cold, and vice versa when there's more of the cold. So they can heat up an area and cause it to flow into a next door area. In other words, these people are capable of creating the cyclone that hit Myanmar, the tsunami that hit Indonesia, and the earthquake that hit China. Now, after the earthquakes hit Niigata, a member of the Inagawa crime family, which is based in around the U.S. Yokosuka Air Base, and members of the Inagawa family have told me that their big boss is George Bush Sr. In other words, they work for Skull and Bones. And they invited me to a so-called UFO gathering where they showed me the video of this blob. They told me it was a UFO, but it was obviously, to me anyway, a plasma weapon.
Those are the plasma
a
blob
ball of
they
heat
drop.
created by something like a 1 billion watt microwave. And I predicted in my blog that there would be videos of lights found above China before the earthquake. And those videos then appeared on the internet after I predicted they would.
30 minutes before
And
the
furthermore,
earthquake.
a Taiwanese satellite detected a 50% drop in the ionosphere in the amount of electric energy in the ionosphere above the earthquake zone. Now, a 50% drop would be exactly what would happen with Harp. It would push the ionosphere up, and then it would slam back down. So, it looks like the insane criminals who have taken over the US government are killing people and threatening people with earthquake weapons. It doesn't look like it. I actually have some of the proof.
Crazy.
And I want to ask the governments of China and Russia and Japan to reveal to the world everything they know about these weapons and the use by the American forces. I would also like to ask the loyal Americans and the patriotic Americans in the Air Force to please bomb the power generator of the Harp stations in Greenland and Alaska.
That's pretty
so they
bold.
can stop this mass murder. They've already killed 500,000 people. If we find out that the tsunami in Indonesia was caused by them, and there's a good chance because the earthquakes seem to be politically timed. They asked the Indonesian government to
Turkey
open the Straits of Malacca and to join in the fight against terrorism, and they refused. What happened? There was a tsunami, and suddenly they cooperated. In Myanmar, they are about to have an election. And immediately before the election it came. And guess what? Just conveniently, the US, British, and French navies are standing by with food supplies. It should take a couple of weeks to get there. What were they doing there already? And China had just succeeded in getting India to join with Russia and Brazil and other countries to join the Shanghai Cooperation Agreement or to cooperate with it. And Japan just had a very, very friendly summit meeting with China where the emperor met the Chinese leader 3 times. President Bush has not met the Japanese emperor in 8 years.
So, yeah, here we go. So this is the footage 30 minutes before the earthquake hit Japan. People were recording unusual lights in the sky. 30 minutes before earthquake, 450 kilometers from epicenter. So you see these things happen in the sky right before major earthquakes take place. And we've seen the same thing in Turkey as well. Just an interesting connection there for people that want to watch this full video. Fulford vs. Harp, high res, here on YouTube. Devastating what's happening in Turkey, and my prayers go out to the families affected. I keep an open mind, on what can cause these major ecological disasters because I understand the level of evil we are up against. Absolutely nothing is off the table when it comes to achieving their and smart cities rebuilt from the ashes of the old world. The Build Back Better Great Reset agenda continues, peeps.